But let's learn from this week's Torah portion. There's the double Torah portion. It talks about what everybody actually brought, and the actual building of the tabernacle. So here we have an interesting two sort of miraculous gifts that were given. One was the women. They knitted a covering over the tent of meeting, a covering from goats, and it was done miraculously. We'll learn. And the other one was the princes, the leaders of each tribe. They also brought the stones. If you remember, there were two different types of stones on the breastplate. There were stones that were on the breastplate. There were 12 of them. There were 12 on the breastplate itself. Right? Let's see, maybe we can get a picture of it. And then there was one here that held up this apron, and the other one that held up the breastplate, held it up so that there could be, and that it would be held up. And on each one was written the names, 6 of the names of the tribe. So let's see if we can get to that here. 1 second. Yeah. Make it bigger. Oh, here. Let's see if we can make the picture. Here's we had the picture before. I think you remember. Here it is. See, here we have the priest's apron. Here's the apron that he wore. This is where his head would be, right here. His head. We'll see a picture of it. And these were stones. And each stone was written a different name of one of the 12 tribes. And then there were 2 stones that were here. One was here and one was here. These are the Avnei Shoham. Now the Avnei Shoham are also written, the names, 6 names are written on one, 6 names are written on the other, the tribes of the 12 tribes of the Jewish people. But on the breastplate is written Yosef and Levi. It's not broken into Ephraim, Reuven, Ephraim and Manasseh. And the same thing is also on these, the Avnei Shoham. So here he has a picture like this. Let's see if we can have a picture here like this. Look, let's see if we can get a pointer over here. There's a pointer, there's a pencil pointer. Here, you know what? I'll hold it like this. Oh, I know what to do. 1 minute. 1 minute. This is going to be, everything is going to be fine here. One minute. Yeah, well, some reason it goes, okay, ready? Here we go. Here's the picture. Here, this is the stones, 12 stones, and this will be on one shoulder, and this will be on the other shoulder of the Kohen. And that's what's called the Avnei Miluim. The Avnei Miluim, and also, yes, that's these. Then we have over here let's see if I can get another picture of it. We had the picture before. Yeah. We have the picture. Okay. Yeah, here it's here. And we have this is a picture of the tabernacle, and there were skins that went over the top of it. Skins, and one of those skins was called Rot Izim. We have a picture of that? I don't know. Okay, so let's go. Let's learn here about these two miraculous things that were given in the Holy Temple. Ready? Yes, smaller. Very good. Up. There. All right. So let's start off with the women, and they brought these coverings. Call Isha Chachmat Leib, every wise woman. Biyadeha Tavu, they wove with their hands. V'yaviu matven, they brought this woven material, namely techelet, argaman, tolat, shani. These are different colored, silk, tolat, shani, and the shesh. Also different types of it. Some of them say that this is only counted as one. Some of them say that's why there was the difference of opinion. If there's 13 things that they brought or 15, because it could be that all these things are one, the techeles and the argaman, the tola shani, it could be that that's all one. So if so, it would count as one big one instead of counting as three. So that's the two different opinions. So the women, okay, this is the one I wanted to. Every woman that had a generous heart, tavu et ha'izim, they wove the goats. Now, interestingly enough, it doesn't say that they wove the wool of the goats or the hair of the goats. It just said that they wove the goats. Tavu et ha'izim. So Rashi says, Hi hayata umna yetera. This was a very, very special skill. Sheme'al gabi izim, that on the backs of these goats, hayu tavin, they wove them. They wove the skins on the backs of the goats. Now, why in the world would they do a thing like that? It doesn't make any sense. Why not just shear the goats and bring the, then start weaving it. Bring it. Why not bring them? And if you're going to do that, then why only the izim? Why not all these others? Like maybe it was the other thing should also be that was that were woven. Oh, there it is. Good. All the other things that were woven should also be should be woven on the backs of the animals, whatever, when they're still on the ground, whatever. Okay, so it says, this was, okay, let's go. So it says like this, the Rebbe has a sikh about this. What exactly happened over here? So it says that the women, they wanted to bring the highest level offering as they could. So if they would have cut it off of the wool, if they would have cut it off of the animal, then it would not really be in the category of animal anymore. It would be closer to the category of plant, because it was cut off from the animal, wouldn't grow together with the animal. So therefore, because they wanted to do it as possible as the highest level of life possible that they could bring, so they wove it when it was still on the goat, and immediately they cut it off. And they immediately cut it off. They didn't want to cut it off before. Because then it wouldn't be such a high level, it wouldn't be attached to the animal. On the other hand, they wanted to do it at the very last moment. Why? So that the tabernacle would not remain without a roof. Because it seems to be, even though there were other coverings as well, it seems that all of the coverings were necessary for it to be functional. Until it was functional, they couldn't bring sacrifices, and the women also brought sacrifices. So the women were relevant, whatever, to the tabernacle, because generally speaking, a person that cannot do a commandment can't participate in making that commandment. Right? Like it says, generally speaking, women should not make tefillin or write mezuzot or things like that. Well, mezuzot, they're obligated, but make tefillin, because they're not really obligated in tefillin. It's a commandment with the time. So here, though, the women were obligated because they have to bring sacrifices as well. Until the tabernacle was set up, they couldn't bring the sacrifices. And women are relevant to sacrifice. And the tabernacle couldn't be set up until there was all the coverings. And one of the coverings was this goat. So they made it all at the last moment. So the Rebbe says, why couldn't they have just woven it on the backs of the goats and leave it there for a while? And then as soon as it was the time, then they could cut it off. He said, because the goats were uncomfortable, and it's forbidden to give pain to an animal unnecessarily. It's permissible to give pain to an animal if it's necessary in order to eat, in order to the ox should pull your cart. But unnecessarily, it's not permissible. So therefore, they waited until the last possible moment. They wove the goat's fur on the goat, and then they cut it off at the last moment and put it all together to make this blanket to put over the altar. Okay. So Frono says they wove it on the goats, like the rabbis say, Lamanya Tavu Zaher Nosaf, so that it should have an extra gleam to it. Ki baharba meha pshutim yimat katzat mitov echutam, because if it would be removed, it would limit a little bit of the quality. Kasher ya'akru mimakom gedolah, if you remove it from the place where they grow. So this is like what the Rebbe said. The Rebbe said, like what he said, he was way before. Just like it was with honey, right? The and with milk. The sooner you get into the milk from its source, then it's better, or honey from the bees. So the same thing is the sooner it came from the goats, the better. So therefore they wove it on the goats. The Rebbe gives a little bit of a more answer. He wanted it not just that it should be fresh and nice, but because it was a totally different level. Instead of being close to vegetative, it would grow, or even less, it would be like mineral almost. It would grow together with so it would be a higher level of life form. Okay, next, the Nesiim, the chiefs of each tribe, they brought these Avnei Shoham. They said the ones on each corner, right? We talked about that. What's this here? They brought one, we had one on each corner, and then the one on the breastplates they had also. It says, and the Avnei Miluim for the ephod and the chushan. So they brought also these, the ephod was the two they held here, and the chushan was the breastplate. They had these stones, and each stone was written a different name of one of the different tribes. So now the word Nesiim, the word Nasi, here, let's see, points it out, also means a cloud. A cloud. What's it got to do with the chiefs of the tribes? Who knows? We'll see. But the fact of the matter is, a Nasi is the leader of the Jewish people, and Nasiim, in this case, were the 12 Nasiim, were leaders of the tribes. And it happens to be that the word Nasi also means clouds. Let's see if we can find this here. So it says on Nasiim, Ita Parak Batra of Yoma, the Gemara of Yoma, says the Nasiim Ananim. It says that this word Nasiim means clouds. Which clouds? Kishahaya Haman Yored Israel, when the manna came down to the Jews, Yoredi Mo, that would come down with it precious stones, or margalios, and all sorts of diamonds and pearls or whatever. But that's what it says. That's what the Torah says. It says that the Nisim they brought. What does it say? The Nisim Heviu. The heads of the tribes brought, or maybe it was the clouds brought. Huh? The clouds. When did the clouds bring it? When they rained down the manna. So there were these precious stones inside. Heviu v'heviu alav. At the man, the clouds brought the manna, like it says baboker every day. Now it must be that these precious stones. It says one place that each one of them was filled with precious stones. I don't know if everybody got these precious stones. It could be only the heads of the tribes got them, but in any case, they were the only ones that brought them to the holy temple. Also says Rabbi Yochanan, the Shtei Mikrim Aboim, Nedavat Mishkan, L'Shtei Bokarim, says Baboker, every morning. Why does it say two times, every morning? In the morning, they brought the offer of the Mishkan. It was only 2 mornings. It was only 2 days. Moses announced everyone that can bring offerings to the tabernacle bring, and in 2 days everything was finished. In fact, there was even more than enough. Avnei Shoam says each one of the tribes brought one of these stones on the breastplate. The Ketova loved to write the name of his tribe, and the Avnei Shoam and the ones that were on the corners on the shoulders, that all of them brought together. And also what's called the Shemen HaMishcha. We learned about that before in Parshas Kitisa, that they brought the anointing oil. They brought this all together. Hanasiim, it says Lishad, because they came so late. What did the Nasiim say? Let's see if Rashi says, Omer Rav Natan, Maro Nasiim lit Nadav, Bechanukat HaMizbeach B'tchila. Why is it that the Nasiim, when came time to inaugurate the temple, after the temple was built, so they brought things in the beginning. When it came time to make the 7 days of inauguration, then they brought in the beginning, right? Not the 7 days, the 12 days. After the tabernacle was set up, the first 12 days was brought by the leaders of the tribes. Every day another tribe brought. So they were the first ones to actually use the tabernacle. But here, when the Mishkan was being built, when the tabernacle was being built, they brought in the end. Here, look, it says that they were the last ones to bring. In fact, they even brought after the women, it says. Elakach Omu Nasim. That's what the Nasim, the leaders of the tribes, what did they say? The heads of the tribes. They said like this: we're going to sit back. Yidnadbu tzibur. Let the congregation offer what they offer. Mashem yidnadbim. Mashem machserim. And whatever is what they don't bring, what they can't bring, ana mashlim matal. We'll finish it off. We'll bring the finishing touches. Obviously, the people, they thought we're going to leave a lot and that they can't do the work. We're going to do the work. Cave and sheishlimu tzibur at kol, since that everybody brought everything, even after the women. It says hamalacha hayata dayam. It says that the work that they did was enough. It's going to be the next week's next. Only they said the Nisim malin lasod. Wow, we waited too long. What are we going to do? So they brought the Avnei Shoam. Therefore, they brought these precious stones. Therefore, they said, now that the tabernacle is working, so we're going to be the first ones to work. We're not going to wait here anymore. So they were the first ones to, and that's why we say from Rosh Chodesh and Nisan, which will be next week, we say every day one of what's called the Nisim. Because they delayed and they were lazy in the beginning. Therefore, there's missing a letter from their name. What does it say? V'hanesiim, bro. There should be a yud over here, a nesiim. a yud should be written here, but it's not. Why is it missing? It's missing because as a sign that they also were missing. Everybody else brought their offerings to build the tabernacle, and they didn't build anything. They waited in the end. Because they were late, they didn't build, they didn't contribute in the beginning, so therefore they're missing one letter from their name. Anasiim Kativ, it says Anasiim, there's not the yud is missing over there. So it says here, the Balaturim says, Hanasiim, it's missing. Pinchas, Hanasiim, later on when Pinchas goes and he kills Zimri, it says the Nasiim, says the two yuds. It's written both yuds, Malay. Why doesn't it say over here Hanasiim? It should say Hanisiim. It should have a yud or maybe even two yuds. Nasiim. Why? Because they were lazy, so it's missing these two yuds. Let's just do one more here. It says that because the whole entire Mishkan was a forgiveness for the sin of the golden calf, that caused the breaking of the tablets, and the holy letters which were on the tablets flew away. And it's known that these letters have more holiness than the tablets did. Therefore, the whole nation brought 12 things, right? Gold, silver, copper, etc., wood, and it said they all brought 13 different things, which were said in Parshas Truma, in order to bring forgiveness, because they caused these letters on the tablets to jump away. What's the letters of the tablets got to do with number 13? Because the letters of the tablets, that's letters of the Torah, and they are learned. There are 13 principles how to learn the different statements in the Torah, how to learn the laws out of the Torah. 13 principles that the Torah and the directions that the Torah can be learned from, which we said a lot of times that the Torah has to be interpreted. It must be interpreted, because to take the simple meaning of it, there basically is no simple meaning, right? It's there to be interpreted. Now the problem is, how do you interpret it? So there were certain people like the Tzadukim that said everybody can interpret it however they want to. And then there came the Christians also. They said, let's just, everything is just spiritual, nothing is physical. So that was when Moses broke the tablets. So the letters jumped away. And because these letters, at least there was a possibility to interpret it properly if you use the 13 attributes, 13 principles that the Torah is learned from. So because they broke the tablets, and now there was no opportunity to use these 13 means of interpretation. By the way, if you want to know what they are, they're written in the Siddur, in every prayer book, almost in the beginning. 13 means of learning the Torah. So therefore, they brought, in order to bring forgiveness on that, the Jewish people, 13 gifts to the tabernacle. They couldn't bring anything else, right? Because that's it. They finished which is relevant to the tablets. They already brought the 13, and that fixed up the 13 principles the Torah's learned from, and that's the 13 is finished without these stones. So they wanted to fix up the letters. How could they do? So therefore they brought these two shoulder stones that were brought. What? The kapara, to bring forgiveness for the breaking of the two tablets, right? The two tablets. And this is not as important as what the people brought. What the people brought was even more important. So therefore, it was missing the letter Yud from the tribes. Why? Ki lo haya chelek lahem ba'oto kapara haba Boal Katav Yud Divrot. So therefore, the Yud is missing from a Nesi'im, the letter Yud, because the 10 Commandments are on the tablets, and the breaking of the 10 Commandments was what was fixed up by the sacrifices, by the gifts that were brought to the Holy Temple. And because they waited so long, they couldn't bring. Right, so God said, okay, consolation prize, you bring these 2 stones, but it's still not the same thing. So therefore, there's missing a yud from their name because they did not participate actively in the fixing up of the breaking of the tablets. All right, here's the last one. Darshu, the Nesiim, they brought, what is the Nesiim? Nesiim is clouds. Like it says, the Nesiim Baruch, it's a pasuk in a sentence in Proverbs. It said that these clouds, they brought the Avnei Shoim. They're the ones that brought these precious stones that were put on the shoulders. And this says the rains don't stop, right? Rains don't stop unless people stop giving charity. And rains don't stop unless people are supposed to give charity. It was appointed made an obligation on them from the court that they have to give charity, and they refuse to give. Like it in the Sim, Baruch, V'Geshem, Ein. Like it says, the clouds and rain was not. V'Ein mithalel b'mitat sheker. Okay, it's a sentence in Proverbs. Nasim Baruch. If so, we can interpret that. It says that the clouds and wind and rain are not there. The ein mahalel, because you cannot praise the people b'mitat if they give gifts, sheker improperly. They promise to give charity, but they don't give. If so, when people don't give charity, so there's no the clouds, the nesi'im, which also means the leaders, the clouds don't give rain. Now, rain is very important in Israel because Israel lives totally from rain. So there has to be, if there's no rain, in Israel, it's very, very important that there be rain. Therefore, there's a whole even tractate in the Talmud of Tainit and what type of prayers that you make in order to bring rain. And if the rain doesn't come, then you have to increase the prayers, and there's more fasting and more prayers. But here, each and every person, each one of the tribes, and everybody did give gifts. Therefore, it says on the CMA view, because everybody gave gifts and they gave charity, therefore the Nesiim, which means the princes, but it also means the clouds brought, because the clouds, they give rain in the proper time. Then there's a blessing, Mishtalachet, which is sent in everything that everybody does. Shoyakonim Avnei Shoim, and then they could buy these Avnei Shoim. So according to what he says, that is not that they necessarily brought the Avnei Shoim, that they were inside, but it means that they brought the plenty that they could buy these precious stones. Because of the tremendous richness that was given to them by means of these clouds. Or maybe we can see that the Nesiim, they drew water from the ground where the Avnei Shoim were found there. In other words, the Kli Yakar does not want to say that the clouds brought the precious stones. And it could be that the reason is, like the Rebbe said in the Sikha in the morning, that you can't use miracle things for the temple. What has to be used for the temple or the tabernacle has to be natural stones and materials. It can't be things by means of miracle, because the whole point of the whole tabernacle is to elevate the spiritual to elevate the physical to be godly, to use it for what God wants. But the Rebbe said it doesn't make any difference. Even if they were brought by clouds and it was by a miracle, it didn't have to be that way. The whole purpose was to use it for the Holy Temple. Okay, so there we see that these two miraculous things that were brought in the temple, and they really weren't totally miraculous. They were presented, they were blessings that were given to God to the women, gave them a tremendous talent to knit these and these coverings for the tabernacle on the backs of the goats in order that it should be the highest possible level of life possible. And also miraculously gave these stones to the Nisim, and because of giving the big blessings, there was also rain and blessing for the Jewish people. That's the Nisim. Nisim means clouds. Okay, tomorrow, God willing, we'll learn the portion in the Torah that's going to be special, added on this week, this Shabbat, about Rosh Chodesh. We already learned that before in Parshat Bo, the sanctifying of the month. And like Rashi says right in the beginning of the Torah, that the Torah did not have to really start. Whereas the Torah could have begun from this commandment, which was the first commandment that God gave to all the Jewish people, of sanctifying the month, seeing the moon and going to the high court and sanctifying, saying this is the beginning of the month, sanctifying that. In some ways, it's the most important commandment, the first commandment in the Torah. And in some ways, the most important. And we'll talk about that, God willing, tomorrow. Have a good day with Mashiach. Now, hope to see you tomorrow at 8:15 in the morning. My pleasure. Shalom.